Hello fellow airplane collectors, welcome back to another video. It's your host Ray. Today I've got the infamous Gemini Jets 1 to 400 scale Delta Connection Bombardier CRJ-900. And you'll learn why I say infamous about this airplane at the end of the video. There's a whole story I'd like to tell, but I'd like to focus more on the review first. This model was released in March of 2021, and I just got this today by pure chance. I was very lucky to get it. I ordered it from Grayland Station in Chicago, and they were friendly enough to ship it out to me, and here I am. And here's the model. But enough about that. Let's jump right into the review. First, I'll talk about the box, then the airplane itself, and then I'll tell you the story as to why it's considered infamous, or I consider it infamous at least. So let's jump right into it. So here's the box. It's a typical small Gemini Jets box, 10.5 centimeters long, about 4 centimeters wide, and another 10.5 centimeters tall. So those are your measurements. Here's the front of the box. Here's the bottom. Right side, left side, top, and the back. Feel free to pause the video to read the information here, but I'm not going to hold it here for too long, so do that now. And yeah, once you've opened the flap, you can see where the model sits. There is two plastic coverings. One is a clear plastic, one is a dark blue plastic, and the model just sits in there, and it's usually good enough to protect the model from damage. However, recently, due to lower quality control, and basically that's the only reason why, some of the models have arrived damaged or broken to people's doors. So this one in particular, it also arrived damaged to my door, and I'll explain why later. And the model is also covered in a sort of plastic covering just to protect it even more. However, that really does nothing for it. So yeah. Up here on top of the information on the bottom of the flap here, you can see a ton of information about the airplane. Here's information specific to this particular airplane, and here's some information about the CRJ-900 series overall. So take a moment to read that if you want to. Pause the video because it's going to take a while, and if you're having trouble reading it, screenshot it on your device and zoom into it, and you should be able to see it better. But yeah, that's all I have to say about the box. Now let's get into the model. And my oh my, here it is, the CRJ-900 itself. I'll do a quick 360 of the model, then I'll talk about all of the details and everything I'd like to say about it. So just enjoy. If my fingers get in the way of anything, I'm sorry in advance. I'm just trying to find the most efficient way to spin this thing around. So yeah, that was that. Here's the size of the model. It's about 8.9 centimeters long, 6.3 centimeters wide. That would be the wingspan, and a height from the ground to the tail. That would be 2 centimeters. If you want to pause the video and look at the dimensions longer, go for it. But yeah. Now let's continue. Here's the nose of the aircraft, which is gorgeously detailed. A lot of details. And unfortunately, there's a few paint chips on the cockpit windows, but honestly, I don't care too much because I can barely see them, and it's a minor detail, so yeah. Nose looks good, from what I can say at least. I'm not an expert on the nose shape or any of the shapes, as a matter of fact, so yeah. In my opinion, it looks decent. I guess it does the job. Let's move on to the rest of the fuselage. And if you see any hairs or anything or dust, that's just hair and dust, unless I point it out otherwise. Before I forget, I'd like to make a quick mention of the front landing gear. It's kind of not detailed too much, but at the same time, it's incredibly small, so I can't complain. But what I really do appreciate is that the wheel rolls. You can see the wheel barely rolling right there, but it's quite smooth and very easy to brake, so be careful. One thing I didn't like about it too much, or that I didn't appreciate, is that how the wheel was bent. You can see the wheel is, instead of being straight, is actually bent. So, yeah, that's just something I feel like you should know. Here's the top of the wings. Also incredibly detailed in terms of printing. They look really good. Wingtips look amazing. I actually never paid too much attention to the wingtips on the CRJ-900, but yeah, they look really nice on this model. So that's one of the benefits of the model, and if my camera would focus, that would be just great. So here's the right side of the aircraft. So Take a look at that if the camera would focus. I'm sorry about that. But here's the right side. Take a look at that if you want to see anything. But yeah, I want to continue on with the review. So here's the bottom of the aircraft, and this is where I did notice an error in the coloring. You'll see here that it's a lighter blue overall right here in this portion, but here it's a darker blue, a very dark blue, and then here it's a more of a lighter blue again. So that's a little weird, hard to notice. Honestly, I can let that slide. But for those of you who are very picky about that, that's just an error I'd like to point out. Also, you can see the little crease from the mold here. It's ugly, but I honestly don't care too much either. Here's the bottom of the aircraft. Looks really detailed. Looks nice. Also, something with the mold I noticed, you can see a little white line right here. That's actually a gap. You can see straight through the fuselage. That's hard to notice. Also, the gap isn't significant, but it's noticeable enough to where you can see the other side. That's also a major no-no, and that should not happen. So just beware of that. Boy, oh boy, the landing gear. Oof, the landing gear on this model, to say the least, they are a burning dumpster fire. They actually arrived looking like this, and it doesn't take any math or anything to prove that these are infinitely wrong. They're not supposed to be like that. So what I decided to do on a model that I probably cannot replace if I mess it up, and that is probably worth more than $100 on the internet now, I decided to do the logical thing and rip out the landing gear and modify them to where I could glue them back to the right location, and that's what you see here. And I also unintentionally found out that the landing gear were made out of brass, so that's kind of cool. The wheels roll, and they roll quite nice, and I glued them back to the best of my abilities. If you see the wheels are kind of tilted or out of balance, they're like that because they're loose, so they can roll. But the model does sit quite fine, and I'm very proud of myself, as well as the other, I forget who it's called, I think it's B767 Aviation on YouTube. He also found out that you can actually rip out the landing gear and do this modification, so yeah, huge shout out to him. But yeah, I did that, and if you want to do that, go for it, but just do it at your own risk. It's very risky and hard, so I highly advise not doing it. I advise against doing it, actually, because then you can end up damaging the model beyond repair. So, yeah. That's basically it for the review. Overall, it's a decent airplane. You're not going to find it anywhere unless Gemini Jets re-releases it. But yeah, I personally like the model, and if you find it at a cheap price, under $100 US anywhere, buy it, because that is probably the cheapest price you are going to be able to get it, given that you are watching this ahead of anywhere later than April of 2021, because these went out of stock really fast. That's the reason I call this model infamous, because people actually bought this model in bulk. There was someone by the name of Citrus Aviation on YouTube who actually bought or pre-ordered 27 of these. 27! That's insane! That's because people, they want so many of these models because they're building like airport dioramas and whatnot, and they want enough of these airplanes to make it look realistic. But at the same time, honestly, the way I see it, you don't need more than 3. If anything, you only need 1. I wish everyone had the same thinking as me, so where they would only buy 1 each, so everyone could get 1 of these models, or whoever wanted 1 could get at least 1, because it's highly sought after. It's a cool model, and it's not going to be re-released anytime soon from what I can predict. So that's why I call it infamous. If you are looking to buy this one, I really wish you the best of luck to buy it, but it's not going to be an easy task. Yeah, that's basically it for this video. Overall, it's a good model. I said that earlier, just with the flaws I pointed out and the gear modifications I had to do. I'm not sure I'd recommend it too much. That's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Like, comment, and subscribe. Share this to your friends who might find this interesting. And stay tuned for more airplane content, because I do have a lot more airplanes coming in, so stay tuned for those. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.